possibly the coolest thing you can do in aviation.
Now, what you saw in that flight was one of my best rejoins, one of my worst rejoins.
Well, Steve, you saw the world's worst rejoin.
And staying humble while doing it. Okay.
You know, I don't have any ego about this. It's
Cool.
fine, you can use anything you want. I mean, I really don't.
Okay, I appreciate it. I'm the same way. That's what my whole channel's about, but I don't like putting people on the spot. We're flying formation in P-51 Mustangs. This is actually probably more roomy than some of the airplanes I've dealt with.
Parachute on first.
I'm really excited to share this amazing experience from AirVenture 2016.
All right, Steve.
Yes, sir.
This ought to be a lot of fun today. You been in a Mustang before?
I have not.
Okay, it's exceptionally loud. Just be prepared for the noise level. I've been flying this airplane now for 9 years, and I have about 550 hours in it, and I feel fairly competent to fly it. But it's an airplane that requires absolute attention to detail. And if you fly this airplane by the book, it's a safe airplane. But if you don't fly it by the book, if you get too slow, if you're not on top of the rudder, this airplane has killed a lot of pilots. In fact, it turns out in World War II, they lost more pilots in training than they lost in combat.
Really?
And the reason for that is it's a very unforgiving airplane. It's unforgiving because it has one of the first laminar flow airfoils. What that means is it's faster because it has less drag. What that also means is the stall characteristics are vicious. There's no stall warning except a buzz in the stick. You feel a little buzz, and the next thing that happens, the left wing drops and it's upside down.
Really?
So if you get too slow, turn in base to final and hit the rudder, which people do, you're dead.
Before the flight, we briefed the plan for a 2-ship formation. This flight was very shortly after sunrise, and I did not have my usual prep and rigging time to set up.
But honestly, I feel like I'm a little bit out of my game here just because of having not gotten audio. I'm going to put a mic in my ear, but I don't know how good that's going to work. The noise cancel. Do you think the noise canceling is going to work with the Bose? Like, what do you wear? A helmet?
Yeah, I've got a helmet, but I'm also wearing earplugs.
Yeah.
My audio adapter cable didn't work with this intercom, so I used a recording app and a lav mic in my ear cup. Therefore, on this flight, you'll actually be hearing what I heard.
So this is push to talk.
Okay.
We do not have voice activated because it would be activated all the time.
Right.
You'll also notice a lack of music from this point. I felt the Merlin engine was a character in this story, worthy of hearing naturally. And despite the insane sound levels that would definitely have overwhelmed any active noise canceling headset, the A20 actually did fairly well in cruise.
Mustangs, go to 123.9, forward ground.
However, for takeoff power, nothing short of earplugs will work. This was definitely a run and gun sort of shoot. I had to wait for the canopy to close before I could rig my cameras inside. But I did manage to get some cool footage, and I'm actually pretty happy with how the sound quality turned out. So that's coming from the ear cup mic, and it's actually doing pretty well considering the fact that the noise cancelling mics on the headset are being pelted by wind.
Did you feel that power on takeoff?
Yes.
And we can only, since we're using 100 low lead, instead of the 135 octane they had in World War II, we can only give it about 85% power.
Mustangs in flight, runway 36 left, clear for takeoff.
And that's only 55 inches. Wow. And they were going to 61 in World War II, 65 for more emergency power. I don't know if you saw that or felt it, but the throttle is not linear. You know, it gets to a certain point, all of a sudden it just goes. Here we go.
And this is when it became physically uncomfortable, and it felt like being punched in the eardrums by the shock waves.
That last little bit, it just goes, doesn't it?
Is it the boost, or what is it?
Well, it's got a supercharger.
Yeah.
And that's when you got to be on that rudder.
Yeah.
And it's usually right rudder, unless it isn't.
Unless it isn't, yeah.
So it's just, that's the deal.
That's what tail wheel flying is all about. Give it the rudder it needs.
That's right.
Don't think about it, just do what it needs.
Exactly right.
Cherokee, the north side of the section, runway 90, ready to go.
So it's an unforgiving airplane. We have to fly it by the book all the time. And if you do that, as we did today, it's really not that hard to fly. It's actually not, it's easy to fly. You just have to fly it by the book all the time. That's the key.
I tested the noise canceling on my headset to see if it had been damaged from the insane volume level on takeoff. So there you go, that's a pretty legit test. The P-51 is still really loud in cruise, but the A-20 noise canceling is working.
All right, Ken, let's debrief our Mustang flight from this morning.
Very well.
So we went out as a two-ship of P-51 Mustangs.
I'm going to intercut this flight with a debrief, but first let's meet our lead pilot, Mike, who is flying the Rebel. He has a lot of WarBird experience.
So quickly, tell me your stories. So you guys are just flying Mustangs like it's nobody's business. How do you find yourself here? So.
I started flying when I was 16, started in gliders, flew those for a long time, then started towing gliders, got a lot of tail wheel time, started flying a few WarBirds, mostly the low horsepower trainers, but I always wanted a T6 and I always wanted to fly the fighters, and so I continued building my time, bought a T6, gained a lot of experience in that, and then became friends with the owner of the Mustang that I was in today. I don't own it, but he's very gracious and allows me to fly it.
Mustang flight check. Now just going to continue this turn toward the back, and then we'll go do our rejoin.
Right, one more issue we couldn't solve this morning was that my intercom wasn't allowing me to talk.
Are you having fun, Chief?
Thus, I had to use hand signals.
I don't know if you noticed, the first and last thing we talk about is safety.
Yeah.
Because this is really serious. You cannot screw up, and it's just got to be done safely. And you noticed, probably maybe you did notice, but when I did that bad rejoin,
3,000 feet, 180 miles per hour.
and we came in trying to get on board, and even though you heard the gear warning, because I had the throttle all the way back, it's going beep, beep, beep. Did you notice we just kept sliding right on by the guy?
Yeah.
I mean, we were gone.
It's so slippery. How do you slow this thing down?
That's the problem. And what I've learned is it doesn't matter how hard I hit the brakes, it doesn't slow down, especially in the air.
Well, Steve, you saw the world's worst rejoin.
Well, if I have too much momentum, I cannot turn away. That's absolutely never allowed. And if you do that, it's likely you're not going to fly any more formation because you'll be blackballed. If you have too much momentum, you have to dive underneath the guy, come out the other side, and then come back over, which is what we did.
Yes.
So if you have too much momentum, you just got to get that thing underneath it. You cannot turn away.
So what's the reason for that?
Go belly up, you can't see him, you could fly right into the guy.
Right, yeah.
It's been done.
Yeah, okay.
This is absolutely not allowed.
Right.
That's like the Black Death.
So stick down and go under him.
It might have to be some negative G. You've got to go underneath that guy.
Yeah.
And it turns out he's turning to the right. So if I go out to his left, I can use up all that energy because he's going on a shorter distance time, and then I can swing right underneath and come back up, which is what we did.
3,100, 200 miles per hour.
So come back to power first. If that doesn't work and it's still going too fast, then you can hit the flaps for a little while, and that'll slow it down pretty well. But the problem is, by the time you get that sorted out, now you're getting behind again. It's called being sucked. And so it's just a constant battle to be in position and stay in position. And then what we did a lot of, as you saw, is we changed sides, we did climbs, we did dives, we did turns, and all of those require throttle management.
And this will be another 3-second rejoin.
For me, the ultimate experience in a Mustang is flying formation, like you saw today. That, to me, is done well. It's just the most thrilling thing I've done. It's great.
I'm going beyond 180 just to set us up closer to Oshkosh.
For my first flight, I'm in the back seat of a TF, full dual control. The instructor goes, okay, I want a 30-degree bank. I want you to slow it down, slow it down. So pretty soon, we're doing about 95 knots. I've got full right rudder. I've got about half right aileron. I've got about half up elevator. I've got full right rudder, full right rudder. It flips over to the left, except sometimes it doesn't. But anyway.
Okay, so did you actually get into a spin?
Actually, no. I have never spun this airplane. I don't intend to. This is interesting. If the Mustang goes into a spin, it takes 9,000 feet to get out of it. I don't intend to.
Yeah, don't think I want 9,000 feet.
No, don't need to. Just fly it keep it in coordinated flight, keep the ball centered.
Yeah.
And it's really fun, isn't it? Yes. The other thing about it, it's really, really fun.
Oh, you want one more or you want a lead change?
One more.
3 seconds.
How much experience did it take you to get to the Mustang? Like, did you do a lot of T6 time, or?
Well, I got about 6 hours in a T6, but I was a glider guy.
Right.
They like glider guys because we have feet.
I'd also started with flying gliders, so it was cool to be able to relate to these guys on that level as well.
What type airplanes, tail wheel airplanes do you fly?
Super Cub, Stearman, and Chipmunk.
Yeah.
But not a lot of Stearman, maybe 10 hours. But
The Stearman is a great trainer also. So I also fly a Grumman Wildcat, and I would say the Stearman is probably a better trainer for that than the T6.
Really?
So, yeah.
Ken also got to practice flying some lead. I'm going to montage together some of these beauty shots. But I'm going to leave out the music so we can hear the sweet sounds of the Merlin.
Sure, why don't I take the lead back and I'll take us back in. How's that?
Great.
Okay, you rejoin on the right there.
This is a rudder airplane.
Yeah,
When
I
we were doing those cross-unders, did you notice there was no aileron movement? It was all rudder. You know, he would give us the sign to change sides. Come off the power a little bit, drop back, hit the rudder, slide it over, add power right about there, come right back up. See how smooth that was?
Yeah.
And that's all about rudder. You notice on landing, it's a funny thing when the tail wheel touches, just when it touches, for about 2 seconds there, that thing is all over the. And I don't know if you noticed, but
I did notice, yeah.
And so you just got to fight this thing, and you can't get behind it, and that's the key. Is especially takeoff and landing, you got to be ready to just slam those rudders over, because once it gets past a certain point, you can't get it back.
Yeah.
So that's the key to flying a Mustang is rudder control.
Mustangs turning initial 1,500.
All right, Mustangs, I've got you in sight. Brake approach and runway 36 left, right brake. Just use caution. The aircraft that are departing off at 36 left and a right turn out are going to be at 1300.
Roger, Mustang. Right brake off at 36 left.
All right, flight of 2 Mustangs. I got 3 aircraft traffic for you. The first one off your right side is a Bonanza 1300 southbound. Second one just lifted off midfield off 36 left. There's a high wing and a tight right turn. Just about to beam the towers. Another right high wing. If you would, just continue your initial Mustangs and a right brake at the blue dot down here by the tower.
Roger, right brake, blue dot, all 3 in sight. Mustangs.
Flight of 2 Mustangs. Second aircraft brake prior to runway 27, please. Nice job, guys.
How was that, Steve?
It was definitely an honor and a privilege to get to see AirVenture from a Mustang. And a huge thanks to Ken for taking me flying, and a huge thanks to Patreon supporters and sponsors for helping us produce this sort of content. I'm sharing the process of learning how to do this sort of flying, and I've already got a bunch of formation training under my belt, and several episodes are already available on the channel. You'll notice, for instance, Ken is landing on the one side of the runway here. That's a standard procedure when you're in formation, and we'll be covering that sort of thing in much more detail in the other dedicated episodes. So please do visit flightshops.com to check out the back catalog, join the mailing list, and play our monthly contest. It's really awesome how much stuff we have to give away. Anyway, I'm not going to talk during Ken's landing, so thanks for watching, and keep your flight shop sharp.
I want you to know all my landings are just like that one.
Thanks a lot, guys. That was
You're very
an
welcome,
honor
sure.
and a privilege, man.
That was fun, wasn't it?
Thanks,
Wasn't
yeah.
that a great time?
That was a great time.
Great time.
Good job, Ken. Yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Mike is a ER physician, and I'm an orthopedic surgeon. And I had a lot of experience flying a Bonanza before I got into P-51. And so what I always tell people is, what's worse than a doctor with a Bonanza? And the answer is a doctor with a Mustang.
I guess that's true. That was awesome,
Steve?
honestly. Really appreciate the
Excellent.
invite. Work up at 5 in the morning for it.
Yeah, it was worth it, wasn't it?
Yes.